Guy, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure to be at this conference with you, Workspaces in Palm Springs. And your talk is coming up tomorrow,
Correct.
but I'm happy that we're having a glimpse of it today.
Yes, sneak peek.
Exactly. Can you tell me what's your role at Google?
So I'm within the real estate organization, specifically the R&D team. So it's the R&D for the built environment. So we're looking long-term, kind of that vision for new innovation on new buildings and then how to do that at scale. So it's creating new Lego bricks that allow us to build better buildings in support of all of the folks that work at Google.
That's very much what caught my attention when we had our first code, introduction code, was the craziness. Let's be unreasonable. Let's be more ambitious. And that's something that I find is lacking in the industry, where it's just such a big problem that we are trying to be reasonable and try to fit in the employee sentiment, the employer's needs, but we're missing that genius. I'm like, okay, let's build something crazy because anyway, we don't know what people don't know what they want.
Right.
How do you include this in your own work?
Well, first of all, I do have to say, like, I'm really fortunate to be at a place where leadership says they want it to be that crazy. Come up with the crazy ideas. Because so many times, to your point, if I'm working for a smaller, more conservative, like an accounting firm, like, oh, no, we don't do that. We just sit in rows of desks. We're not going to try anything nuts. This works for us. We're just going to do this. So you don't have that innovation. But we have so many new things that we're always trying to solve and create. Having the support of leadership has been tremendous. We do partner with our end users all the time. We have a whole UX team, our user research team. So we really do sit down, like hearing you talk up there about that, the hospitality piece, right? And what inspires people. So now you wake up, you have to go into the office. You don't want to die in the office, right? I love hearing that story. You come in, what would make you wake up in the morning and go, I can't wait to get in there? That's my motivation. Because I've always wanted to be an architect since I was a little kid. So every day I get to do that. And then I go into the buildings and I see the smiles on their faces, and it's like watching your children on Christmas morning. Okay. That's incredibly rewarding. So I actually do get to make a difference. So yes, there are a lot of crazy ideas, and every now and then somebody's like, whoa, okay, no, back over here, right? But we have the support, and the teamwork is tremendous. Like, I'm on a small 3-person team, and we are just each other's advocate and cheerleader, and like, oh, that's amazing. And then we all present together, and it's been really rewarding that way. But like I said, you throw a lot of things at the wall just to see what sticks.
Exactly. And I think, like, as you say, like being part of Google that has that culture of pushing the envelope, pushing further, and the scale now also permits for it, has really created that change in the industry. Like I say, it's when I came to Silicon Valley that I realized that you don't have to hate your job. You don't have to hate your manager. You don't have to hate your office. They could be amazing. And I'm sure Google needed change leaders before to show that having an app pod really is helping work. Because it seems contradictory. Like, no, people shouldn't sleep in the office. They should work all the time. But they were like, no, actually, people need more than just a desk. And so recently in the news, we're seeing how Google is really pushing further into climate, sustainability, and think like, how crazy can we become with our building? Can you tell us more about this?
I love hearing that. I'd almost say it's not like how crazy with the building, but to your point about Google taking care of its people, that really is at the forefront of everything. And I know it sounds, very, if you want to say Pollyanna and idealized, but it really is, it really does matter. And so what I have found is, especially when I've been touring people through our mass timber building that's under construction right now in Sunnyvale, they walk through it and they are blown away because it's so beautiful. I mean, all of the natural wood, there's no paint, there's no wall covering, you're leaving the wood open. And so then they learn, well, that actually is healthier because I don't have all these other coatings. And it actually makes for cleaner air. And then I explain to them there's the science behind it, right? There's actual medical data that says it lowers the cortisol content in your body and it's more relaxed. So then people come in, they don't necessarily need to know all the data. They just know they feel better and they're like, I want to be in this building. So when employees start realizing, okay, Google really does care about us, they're more motivated and more emotionally invested in coming in. They actually then become our own change agents, right? That narrative. So they go tell their other associates in the company and go, you got to see this building. We're doing this all the time. So it's helped generate more excitement for the population. So now they want to come in and do the fun stuff. 20 years ago it was, it's a ball pit and a slide and I can do all this stuff. Now there's gyms and the cafeterias. And yes, the amenities are great. But people they realize they're healthier, they're taken care of. They come home actually recharged and refreshed is what I'm hearing from our UX team.
And I love that you bring this point because it shows the bridge. I think sometimes where leadership at companies are working siloed, they see, that costs that much money and this is what I need to create happiness and joy in my office, but this is actually what I need to create for sustainability. But you bridge that gap in showing that a sustainable building actually bring happiness, health, which then in turn bring more productivity or engagement. They all link.
Absolutely. And I love that you just used the word productivity because there are, the stakeholders, the stockholders, they want to see what that financial return on their investment is. If the company's more productive and people are more motivated and inspired, you're delivering a better product. You're healthier, so there's no burden on the healthcare system. We're saving money. The buildings, when we are developing this Lego kit that I'm creating for how we build buildings, what the end user doesn't see is, or the occupant doesn't see is, we're doing it in such a way that it's repeatable. We're actually able to build buildings less expensively and quicker. So behind all of that, we are doing it with data and financial responsibility. So it's not just we're inventing this great playground. We're actually saving the company money, improving morale, and becoming more productive. So it works across sustainability, health, well-being, and the economics of the company.
And I remember before the pandemic when we were starting to change our conference room and trying to get data from our conference, I remember finding the carbon levels so high after 30 or 40 minute meeting, and you're like, that's crazy. Those people are making decision on the long term of this company, and yet after 40 minutes, their brain is completely fogged. How do we think it's a good idea?
I'm like, did you see my presentation already? I actually have a slide of a conference room. It's not, and it says disclaimer, not one of ours, but we're trying to make these decisions that improve the world in a conference room that is causing people to fall asleep and lose brain cells and everything else. That's hilarious that you just referenced that. I'm like, that's like slide number 4.
We said we're gonna give a sneak peek.
Exactly. I'm like, no, you didn't go into my laptop, right?
So I think this idea that employee experience is not far from health and is not far from sustainability. They all work in a circular and virtuous environment. Yet we still need to prove it, or at least if at Google you did a good job at proving it to your leadership, the rest of the world is lacking behind. Do you sometimes think about beyond the walls of Google? Do you also think that you have an impact in the rest of the industry that is watching for what Google will do?
It's a great question. There are so many companies that are like, well, we're not going to take that risk. Yeah. Why should we do that? We could fail. Google, fortunately, is very successful at what it does, and that actually becomes an investment in innovation. And it's like, okay, what can we do? We are not, there's that mindset. We're not waiting to see what everybody else does. It's a 24-year-old startup is kind of how they describe it, but it's still that mindset. We are trying to make new things and so forth. Now, as an architect and, a kid loving playing with Legos, friend of mine who was working at Apple, and when the Apple Park was under construction, and that had, structural glass and all the fuel cell and everything, and the PV roof, he took me on a tour of that, and I thought that was amazing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and that was before I joined Google. So I was like, you can build amazing buildings. It's great that companies will invest in that. But at Google, it's, we've gone even further now, and it's how can we, even to the point where, build a building that people can occupy and be comfortable in, and it takes care of their well-being. But then it's also better for the rest of the world, because if we produce enough power of our own, we come off the grid, we don't put a demand on the rest of the community around us. So it's all of that has been great in terms of getting to do that.
And that's really something that I've heard from you without saying the word, is the responsibility. You have the responsibility over your job, your team, your company, but you also feel the responsibility over the world, because you might not be watching other companies, but other companies are watching you. And they're like, what are they doing? And if they can break the rules, then finally we can also breathe, because we need a bigger player to break the rules. Do you enjoy that scalability that comes with power and responsibility?
Until you said it, I didn't actually think of it that way, because now I'm going to stay awake at night going, oh my God, Nelly thinks I need to save the world. No, what I love is somebody described it once, like every effort you enter into or meeting you enter into at Google, enter with positive intent. So, and that's just how you approach life, right? Especially post-pandemic. You think about, like we were talking about kids earlier, my kids were schooled from home for a year, and on an 8-year-old, that's traumatic. So now the world needs kindness more than anything, right? And you were talking about that earlier today. Now more than ever, we need kindness. We have technology, which is great, and like through video calls it allowed us to connect. But the part that a lot of people don't talk about is it actually separated us further, because we don't interact like this, like you and I talking one-on-one. We have the ability to do great things with technology, but there's still this huge disparity in the world of the haves and have-nots. So I'm gonna go into my daily experience of using the skills and the tools I have to help make the world a better place. Now more than ever, we need that. So we all have the ability to make it a better place and be creative. Everybody is creative, right? We heard that Sunday night with Kevin. Everybody can be creative. So our partners, our design partners, are our end users, are our general contractors, are everybody else who creates that.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm feeling so inspired. I want to do a tour of the Mass Timber office in Silicon Valley.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Thank you. I appreciate this.